What's happening, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas here. This is the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, back with a lot of energy. This has been a weird couple weeks, battling a little bit of an illness this last week. So it had been a little while since I had been on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I didn't get the chance to hop on last week, give a pregame, give a postgame. I was out of it. My voice was gone. If I have no voice, I have no show. That's the motto, right? If I have no voice, I have no show. So, the things I was battling, out of the system, thank God. Still have a little bit of whatever this was lingering. It's still a little bit there, but I can work through it. I can, manage it, I guess I could say. So this is the Week 8 preview and prediction show, Buffalo Bills versus Carolina Panthers. I cannot believe that it is now Week 8 in this NFL season, but I also cannot believe that the Buffalo Bills have lost 2 straight weeks at the hands of the Atlanta Falcons and at the hands of the New England Patriots, of course, the week prior. So this show has always been a show that I've told it like it is. I've given my opinion. I've given my takes. I've fired, all the bullets in the holster since day one. And this has been a great journey. It has been a long journey. And it's one that, I've grown through this show. I've grown my ideas, who I want to be through this show. So more on that as we inch closer and closer to the winter time. But I got some really good stuff in the works for myself that I'm really excited for. Opportunity knocks, and I answered the doorbell. So I'm really excited about a new opportunity that I have. I'll be sure to discuss it on the show. I'll be sure to discuss it, on my social media when the time is right. So, to all my supporters and followers, you guys know what is special to me, and that is this show, my coaching career, friends, family, the most important things in the life of Ryan Thomas. So to be able to hop on here in these last couple weeks for the first time, to be able to say, hey, something is happening, something is in the works, can actually concretely put something in motion as far as wheels in motion. That is really gratifying for me. It's been a journey. It's been one that I'm really excited to see where this journey takes me in this portion of my life. But I'll talk more about that next week. So stay tuned to next week's show as I hopefully recap a win for the Buffalo Bills. So as you guys know, I like to kind of screen share and kind of hop back and forth between, these last couple weeks. And obviously the 23-20 loss at the hands of the Patriots was one that I really didn't expect. And I didn't expect it in the sense that I felt like the Bills had a really strong hold of the AFC East. It's been a breeze these last, 5 years playing against the AFC East. I know that the New England Patriots are a better team, right? Going into this season, Drake May, can he take that next step? They provided him the opportunity to get better around him with a player like Stephon Diggs, whether he's quote-unquote damaged goods or not. He certainly wasn't damaged goods, knowing that he was going up against his old team, the Buffalo Bills. As a brief recap to that game, all of that kind of falls within the story of this preview and prediction for Week 8, Bills versus Panthers. And, coming off of 2 straight losses is one thing. Coming off of 2 straight losses where they're very different from one another is another. And I would say that all the hoopla, the naysayers, the haters, that have come out of the woodwork here these last couple weeks and kind of shit on the Buffalo Bills, for lack of a better term, these last couple weeks, they're going to do that because the Bills had all this hype, going into the season that, hey, is this the year, right? Is this the year that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, is this the year that they can, take that next step? Is this the year that they can finally get over the hump, as they like to call it, against the rest of the AFC? And those teams being the Chiefs, those teams being the Broncos, and all the teams that had made the playoffs, last year included, as well as, I should say, the teams that every year is a different year. That teams are going to take that next step. Are the Buffalo Bills going to be a part of that? Are the Buffalo Bills going to be that team that goes to the top of the AFC? And I said the Chiefs, Broncos, Colts, all these teams that are now, in the thick of things in the AFC, can the Bills be atop that list? And 4 wins and 0 losses prior to the Patriots would lead me to believe that we came into the Patriots game with a little bit of a inflated ego. We came into the Patriots game with a little bit of an underestimating facet of our game. And I think they definitely underestimated the progress or the growth of Drake May. They threw things at Drake May that Drake May just took and ate. They didn't do things collectively as an offense. They turned the football over. They didn't force any turnovers on defense. Didn't necessarily pressure Drake May in the form and fashion consistently that I would hope to see for a defensive line that has had, plenty of high investment picks in it. And those include Rousseau, those include Epinesa, those include Oliver, those include all the guys that we know very, very well, right? But they just haven't gotten to that next level yet. And that's concerning for a team that's put a lot of stock into that area of their defense, for those players to not take that next step. Dare I say it, guys and gals that are tuning into this, that the best player on this Bills defense really since the season started is Joey Bosa. And I comically, took that addition kind of with a grain of salt because I didn't expect him to really be able to do a whole lot. I kept my expectations minimal so that I didn't get let down, because my expectations were sky high for Von Miller coming to Buffalo. I thought he'd do extremely well. And his first half of the year, I was probably proven right. But then the knee injury, and we know the whole story. We know that. We don't have to rehash it. But Joey Bosa's been their best defensive end week to week, I would say. And Ed Oliver's had some missed opportunities to where he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Secondary has been brutal. Linebackers are in and out of the lineup. Matt Milano especially. But none of those players on that defensive side of the ball are Josh Allen. They don't have a elite of the elite player on defense. They don't. Nowhere on their defense do they have an elite of the elite player. They have some good players, but their unit is no one elite of the elite, right? So offensively, my expectations for their offense are week in, week out to be one of the best offenses in the league, maybe the best offense in the league, bar none, unequivocally. Any given week, you throw it out there, could be the best, could be very good, or good. Never bad. I never expect their offense to be bad. And these last 2 weeks, Patriots and Falcons included, their offense has been bad. They scored 20 points against the Patriots. They put up 14 against Atlanta. There is no world that Josh Allen should ever live in where he's on an offense that only produces 14 points. I don't care what defense is out there. Could be the friggin' 85 Bears for all I care. Josh Allen should do Josh Allen things. And you could say that, me saying that is, well, I need to, throw some criticism on Allen. Okay, I will do that. I will do that. There are plays where Josh Allen feels as if he has to really force things, where Josh Allen feels as if he's got to be taking off the suit and opening up the S, being Clark Kent to Superman, spinning around in that telephone booth. Those are the things that Josh Allen feels that he needs to do, but there's a reason as well that is defensible as to why Josh Allen feels he needs to do that, and it's because ever since the Bills decided to move on from Stephon Diggs, they never fully replaced Stephon Diggs. And that's the difference. It's not that they let go of Stephon Diggs. We know the reasons why they moved on, why they made the trade, why they did what they had to do. But they never adequately replaced him. And if they did, those that have been put in that position to replace him have not fully made up their end of the bargain just yet, whether that's Keon Coleman or Kincaid, whatever it may be. These players have not been what we've needed them to be. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. All of which we'll debate, all of which we'll question, all of which we'll say, but we don't exactly really know. Because we're not the ones that are putting the plays together. We're not the ones putting the film room sessions together. We're not sure what they're looking at, but I can just judge it just based on what I'm looking at. And what I'm looking at is an offense that, outside of Josh Allen, outside of James Cook, I can't name with confidence the third best player on the Buffalo Bills offense. Is it Dalton Kincaid? Is it Keon Coleman? Is it Khalil Shakir? Every week it's different. And that's this whole everybody eats thing, which when you're winning, it's cute, it works. But when you're not, and you're losing because your offense isn't putting up points, and you're losing because your wide receivers or tight ends can't get the proper separation that they need on the opposing defense, then it leads me to believe that they need that one guy that Josh Allen can close his eyes under pressure, put the ball in the air, and count on the fact that that guy is going to come down with it. Do the Buffalo Bills have that guy right now? I don't think they do. And I didn't think they did last year. I didn't think they did, towards the tail end even of the Diggs era. This is a facet of their offense that has lacked in every sense of the word since the prime years of Stephon Diggs. Now, I say prime years of Stephon Diggs, understanding full well that Stephon Diggs put up a barn burner of a performance against us. But I also say, yeah, he put up the best performance against us, only against us. That's the best game that Stephon Diggs has had in 2 or 3 years. And I think a lot of it had to do with the motivation factor of him coming back to Buffalo, Orchard Park, New York, and saying, you know what, these guys traded me away. I'm going to stick it up their ass. That's, I don't mean to, be improper in saying that, but improper in saying that, but that's the attitude that I think Stephon Diggs had going into this. And you go back even further to some of the shortcomings that this team has had in the playoffs against Cincinnati, against Kansas City, and you'd say to yourself, well, maybe Stephon Diggs had a point. The Bills have come up short in do or die, do your thing, move on, don't do your thing, go home situations. And Stephon Diggs just wanted to be a part of a team that would be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And I've said it these last, 5-6 years, I really believe this in my heart. Like, this isn't something that I don't think is for debate. This isn't something that I don't think people can, comment on and say, oh, Ryan, you're wrong. You're dead wrong on this one. But to me, these last X amount of years, the greatest enemy to the Buffalo Bills is the Buffalo Bills. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the Buffalo Bills themselves. And how this team is cultivated and constructed, despite the success that Sean McDermott has had, is it enough to get the Bills to where they need to go, which is to the Super Bowl and ultimately to win a Super Bowl. And you got a great opportunistic time here in front of us. You know, this is coach speak, but I look at losing 2 in a row heading into your bye as almost a blessing in disguise. And hear me out on this. So you lose 2 weeks in a row prior to your bye week. You get a chance to really digest it. You get a chance to really unpack it and make the necessary changes that you feel are necessary. And then on the back end of this bye, coming off this bye, if you were facing a KC, who we do face next week, but if you were facing a KC this week, for example, then I'd feel that little bit, you know, up against it, right? I'd feel a little bit antsy. I'd feel a little bit, you know, frustrated. But Buffalo is facing one of the worst teams in the National Football League, and the Carolina Panthers. They've been one of the worst teams in the National Football League. But in saying that, it's not to say that they don't do any one thing well. As a matter of fact, what they do very well is run the football, which is what Buffalo has been really unable to stop, coming off of a week 2 weeks ago in which they allowed 170 yards by one player on the ground in Bijan Robinson. Now, Carolina does not have a Bijan Robinson, but they do have a Chuba Hubbard who is getting healthier, and they do have a Rico Dowdle who was a starting running back for Dallas, moves to Carolina in free agency, and he's put up 2 back-to-back weeks at one point in the season that was in excess of over 450 yards. So this guy can play. They're going to rely on the run game. They're starting Andy Dalton in this one. Bryce Young is out. So expect the unexpected. Every team that we play this season has given us their best effort. The Ravens gave us their best effort. It was a 1-point game, had to come back in that one to get to 1-0. Of course, the Saints played us really tight. I think the Jets even played us pretty well, considering how bad the Jets have actually become. And my point is in saying this is that the Buffalo Bills have a massive bullseye on their backs. Josh Allen has a tag on his shoulder that says MVP, and everybody's trying to rip that tag off his shoulder. You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to get that allure away from him and say, you're the MVP, man. I'm gonna make an example out of you in this game. I'm gonna give you my best. Everybody is gonna give Buffalo their best, and Buffalo has to be prepared for that. And I question whether those last 2 weeks, these last 2 games, Patriots, Falcons, were the Bills best prepared to take on those teams. It didn't look it. It did not look it. And we need to see more. We need to see an aggressive effort on offense and on defense. We need to see these guys come out with a massive chip on their shoulder because everybody's talking shit about the Bills. Everybody, ESPN, CBS, they all are. They all think that they're pretenders. And right now, I can't necessarily disagree with that assessment solely based on these last 2 weeks. It's tough to generate, a sense of confidence that says, okay, this Bills team is just as good as what I thought they'd be. Now, if they come out guns blazing, balls to the wall, beat the snot out of the Panthers, then that momentum that, okay, yeah, we are back. We needed to just shake it off, come off the bye week healthier, play a team like Carolina that we can beat, and have that, pride back a little bit to play against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's an exciting game, always an exciting game. 2 quarterbacks that are the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. So I think the Bills will get back on track. I think there's too much at stake for them to not get back on track. And I think Josh Allen is at a point in his career where he is extremely frustrated. I've never seen Josh Allen as frustrated as he was against the Atlanta Falcons a week or 2 ago. Visibly frustrated to the point where the media is talking to Allen and he's talking about how his grandma was upset at how upset he was during the game. Like, these are things that, it's obvious that Josh Allen is not at the point this season that he wants to be at, whether it's his own individual success, the team's success doesn't matter to him. The team's success is more important than anything. But these guys need to step up. And you look at the depth chart of this wide receiver group. Between Keon Coleman, they invested in him, inconsistent. Dalton Kincaid, they invested in him, inconsistent. And a lot of the other guys, they're NFL caliber wide receivers. Why are they not performing to that level? And I think a lot of it has to do with the coaching. And, I want to dedicate my next segment of the show to Joe Brady and just ask the question as I add the tagline here, back-to-back weeks, back-to-back losses for the Buffalo Bills. And I mentioned this from the top, 20 points against New England, 20 points scored against New England, and 14 scored against the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, on offense. The question is, will Joe Brady be back in Buffalo? Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to answer it. And the answer is I don't care if he's back. I really don't. This isn't something that makes me lose sleep at night, whether or not Joe Brady remains the offensive coordinator of the Bills, because I haven't been happy these last 2 weeks with this offense. So this isn't a coach that I'm talking about in the same breath as, oh man, I'm really worried that he'll leave and get a head coaching job. I wasn't worried when Brian Daboll, the former Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator, I wasn't worried when he had an opportunity to leave multiple times and finally decided after a successful season that he was going to leave for the Giants with Joe Schoen, who was also an executive under Brandon Beane, right? Whatever. If you want to find another job, Penn State's out there, head coaching wise. Miami will probably be out there. Joe Brady has not been that good this year. And even in the 4 victories, there were moments where it's like, what is going on with this offense? What is going on with this offense? Somebody has to unlock the offense. And I would hedge my bets that I place a bet, I should say, that Josh Allen will do a better job at unlocking this offense than Joe Brady can. That I know. That I know for certain. Not even just on the field, but even off of it. The distraction of, I'm going to interview for this job. I'm going to interview for this job. I understand it's a business. I understand that just as well as anyone. But it creates a distraction. And when these rumors started circulating, the Bills were 4-0. And now that they've continued, they're 4-2. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I think we'd be really stupid to not make that connection, right? So Joe Brady, you're here. I get it, but I don't want to hear this anymore. I don't want to hear offensive coordinators coming in, riding the coattails of Josh Allen just to take a better job in Buffalo. Use Buffalo as a stepping stone. That's what the offensive coordinator position has turned into in Buffalo. And quite frankly, Joe Brady was just the most readily available guy to be the OC while firing Ken Dorsey during the season, which is extremely rare in terms of the National Football League. So Joe Brady, I'm not too happy with Joe Brady right now. And I might be in the minority here, but I don't think he's done a good job this year. I don't think he's done as good a job. I think James Cook is being heavily underutilized in this offense. It should definitely be used as a pass catcher far more often. I definitely feel like the ball should be spread around more. It seems like when Allen is ready to pull the trigger, it's to the same guys, Keon, Kincaid. And we got Curtis Samuel in this offense. We got Eli Moore in this offense. We got Dawson Knox in this offense. Let's spread the damn football around. Let's get it to every single playmaker that we can and put forth the best offensive effort. And thus far, Joe Brady, I don't think he's been able to do that for the Buffalo Bills. So if he's back, great. If he's not, great. I really don't care. It really doesn't lose. I mean, who wouldn't want to be an OC for the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen as your quarterback? I know that Mike McDaniel, the Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator, is probably going to get fired. He's an OC, right? Experienced OC Who's to say the Bills don't bring him in as an OC? I'm not for it. I'm not against it. You know what I mean? It's just the nature of the beast that is the NFL and the coaching carousel. One guy leaves. The Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator position is one of the hottest in the NFL. Make no mistake about it. So I got the Buffalo Bills winning this one. I'm going to go 28-13. I think the Panthers have just far too much, inexperience weighing against them. And I think Josh Allen is truly pissed off that they lost those last 2 games. And he's going to come out fully healed, fully rested from the bye. I think he's going to have a great day. So Buffalo gets to 5-2, and everybody goes home happy and heads into the work week happy, which we haven't been able to do in quite some time. All right, with that, I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Of course, really appreciate everybody's patience. These last couple weeks have been not pleasant for me health-wise, so I'm really glad to be able to get back into the swing of things and put forth a great show. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Of course, follow me on TikTok at Ryan Thomas Take 92. Follow me on X at Ryan Thomas Take. Greatly appreciate all the love and support. And of course, last and certainly not least, go Bills.